Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Numerics with Nadia. In today's video, we're going to continue learning some more pre-algebra topics, and we are going to do a lesson on prime factorization. So we're going to break up our lesson into two main sections. First, we're going to define what prime factorization is, and then we're going to go through and work through some examples once we've gone and defined a few terms. And as we work through our examples, we're going to be using something called a factor tree, which you guys will see later. But for now, let's go through and define some of the terms that we'll be using in this section. So to start off, it would be useful to define prime factorization, right? What are we even doing our lesson on today? So prime factorization is a process we're going to go through using our factor trees, and it's going to help us determine which prime numbers multiply together to make the original number that we're given. So we're going to be given a number, we're going to have to go through using a factor tree to determine which prime numbers are at the core of that number, and those prime numbers multiplied together will make up the original number that we're given. So that's the process of prime factorization. The next term that we're going to go through and define is what a prime number is as well. Understanding what a prime number is also very important in this section. A prime number is a positive integer with only two factors, and those two factors are 1 and itself. So whatever the integer is, if it's prime, the only factor that it has is 1 in itself. So we'll go through and list out some examples of this. We can have something like 3, right? If we look at the factors of 3, the only factors that 3 has is 3 and 1, right? And 3 would just be the integer itself. So 3 would be considered a prime number. Other examples of prime numbers can include something like 5, right? Because 5 also only breaks up into 5 times 1. 2 is also a prime number. 2 only breaks up into 2 times 1. There's no other factors, right? And same thing goes for 7. So there are more prime numbers that we'll get exposed to as we do practice with everything. But for now, we'll just go through a few examples here. And I have the process that we're going to go through for prime factorization written above our example. So for our first general example, we have something simple. We have 12, and we're going to use our factor trees for this. 12 breaks out into 6 and 2, right? 6 times 2 gives me 12, and 2 is a prime number, so we can leave the 2. 6 breaks up into 3 times 2, and once we do that, all of the factors we're left with are prime, right? We have 3 times 2 times 2, and we're going to list this starting with the lowest prime number, which would be 2. So when we rewrite this, we're going to have 2 times 2 times 3. And we have two 2's, right? 2 2's is equivalent to 2 squared. So the final way that we would write our answer would be 2 squared times 3 for our first example. So now that we've done just one general example to see what the process looks like, we're going to do some more practice. And the directions that you might see for a problem like this could be like I'm writing below. We could just be told to find the prime factorization of the number that's given to us. And for our first number, for our first example, we're given 72. So same as before, any two factors of 72 work here. 72, we can break that into 8 times 9, right? And then both of these factors, we can break them up. So let's start off with the 8. The 8 breaks up into 4 times 2. The 2 is great. We can leave that one. That's prime. But the 4 will break up into 2 times 2. So now the left side, we all have prime numbers. We'll move on to the right. Our 9 will break up into 3 times 3, right? And at this point, we have all prime numbers. We have 2, 2, 2, and 3, 3. So let's write it out as is. We have 2 times 2 times 2, right? 3 2's. and then 3 times 3. So 3 2's and 2 3's. We'll write that with our exponents now. The 3 2's is the same as 2 cubed, and our 2 3's would be 3 squared. So the prime factorization of 72 would be 2 cubed times 3 squared. All right, let's move on to our second example for today. We are given 56. We know that 56 breaks out into 8 times 7, right? The 7 is actually prime, so we can leave the right-hand side alone. Now we'll simplify the left-hand side. 8 breaks up into 4 times 2. We know that the 2 is prime, but the 4 will break up into 2 times 2. So at this point, we have all prime numbers. We have 2, 2, 2, and 7. And now that we've finished our factor tree, we can go ahead and write this on the side now. We, to start, have 2 times 2 times 2 times 7. And again, we have 3 2's, right? So the way that we would write that would be 2 cubed, and the 7 would also be included. So our prime factorization for 56 would be 2 cubed times 7. All right, you guys, let's move on to our third example for today. For number 3, the number that we're given is 60. And we can break 60 up in any way. I promise you it will give the same answer. You can go ahead and try it on your own just to make sure. But the prime factorization will come out the exact same way. The way that I'm going to split up this 60 is going to be 6 times 10. And we'll start with the left-hand side. We'll start with the 6. We know that 6 breaks up into 3 times 2. Both of those are prime, so we can move on to the 10 now. We know that the 10 breaks up into 5 times 2, and everything is prime here, right? We have the 3, 2, 5, and 2. Everything is prime, so let's go ahead and write it on the side there and then simplify. We have 3 times 2 times 5 times 2, and we want to write these factors from least to greatest when we do our final answer. We have 2 2's, so we'll start there. We'll have 2 squared times 3 times 5 as our prime factorization for number 3 for 60. And now we'll move on to our last example for today. The number for our last problem is 120. And the way I'm going to split up the 120 is 30 times 4. And we can start off with the left-hand side. We know that the 30 can break up into 6 times 5. The 5 is prime, so we can leave that. The 6 will break up into 3 times 2. And now we'll move on to our 4. We know that 4 breaks up into 2 times 2. So the prime factors that we have are 3, 2, 5, 2, and 2. So we'll go ahead and write that on the side and then simplify. So we have 3 times 2 times 5 times 2 times 2. We're going to write this from least to greatest and put in our exponents. And the prime factorization for number 4 will be 2 cubed times 3 times 5. All right, you guys, that wraps up today's lesson. Great job. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you haven't already. Feel free to comment any other topics you would like me to do a video on down below, and I will see you guys next time.